have signs everywhere, but I think that only at major tourist attractions or when you go into a retail place, do they, you know, do they make you wear them? There's a lot of places that don't.
Good morning. How is everybody? Morning, guy. Morning, Joe. Thank you, Dan. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. So, Dan's going to start us off with our invocation and our four-way testing pledge. Our Liberty Act.
Grandmother was a big fan of St. Francis. I think they possibly dated or something. You guys will bow your head, please. Lord, making an instrument of thy peace. Where there is hatred, let me show love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. And where there is sadness, joy. O divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in the giving that we receive, it is in pardoning that we are pardoned, and it is in dying that we are born to eternal life. If you'll join me with the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And of the things we think, say, and do,
It's the truth, to bear all concern, fulfill goodwill and better friendships,
would be beneficial to all concerned.
Thank you, Dan. So we have a decent crew here. It's good to see some of you guys back. Brad, you have our Sergeant at Arms report.
Yes, we have 20 in person and 14 on Zoom.
Very good, 34. So we're getting there. Slowly but surely, the spring flower will open up here and we'll all get to come back to the Rotary. Rick, you have our birthdays and anniversaries.
I do. Whoa, we got a couple today, so everybody, you can eat for a while. We're running through club anniversaries here. Let's see, we'll start off club anniversaries, and Chris Jackson, usually here, not here today. Chris has 3 years of the club, along with Brian Kaiser. Mike Coney, 2 year, and is it Mike online with us?
You signed this for me?
Eric Durham, Kim Tyler, Charlotte Davis, Chris Meadows, all part of our Sunset Club, and one over here today. And let's see, Stephanie Justice. Well,
I don't think any of the Sunset people are.
yeah, they're not tuning in, but I thought they were. Okay. Let's see, Charlotte. Yeah. Oh, Charlotte there?
Yep.
Hey, okay, Charlotte, 1 year. Yay, we got one. All right. Well, and let's see, we'll skip on over. We've got wedding anniversaries this week. Robbie, got your heads up last week. Are you all set for tomorrow?
Number 32.
All right. The 32, is that right? Wow, let's give it a hand. Way to go. And member birthdays, Kim Tyler, other club, and has one. And then, we have actually one birthday today. And so I guess we're going to get to say, that would be moi. Today's my birthday. We can skip to sing actually.
Happy
birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Rick. Yeah. Happy birthday to you. Thank you.
Good job, right?
Yeah, yeah. And I'll tell you the weird thing is just being the same age as old people.
Thank you, Rick.
I should have said Grandpappy said. I don't know.
I am Grandpappy. So, couple of quick announcements to the whole group here. We have no applicants for district grants so far. So if anybody is interested, Christy, I know there was some talk about maybe you guys want to do it. You're working on it? Okay, great. So if I can help you with that, I know Lisa's done the grant training too. So and Dan I'm sure can help you on it. He's done it for many years. So it's a great cause, and I know the club would be willing to support it. Our board meeting is next Tuesday at Lisa's office. So if anybody wants to get there, check that off on the red and blue badge. Feel free to join us at Lisa Simpson's office. It's in the building where Ruth Chris is. It's on the second floor. So if you just head on up, I'm sure you'll see somebody walking back there. District conference is in 1 week. I sent an email about bringing some food for the Mana Food Bank in Asheville. So they're doing a food drive, and they asked the presidents to collect from their club. Please bring non-perishable items next week if you remember. If not, I'm just going to go buy a bunch of groceries and say, hey, this is how great our club is.
Once Asheville, it's going to be vegan, whatever that is.
Just bring it. I'll figure it out. So yes, Dale.
I have a clarification out there for you.
Oh, thank you. Awesome. Excellent. So remember to bring them next week. I'm going to shuffle them on up with our gift baskets and all that stuff to the district conference. And the more the merrier. Let's see, that's about all I have. So I'm going to call on Tom to talk about our fundraiser.
Good morning, everybody. Good to see some new faces here. If you don't have one of these envelopes with your name on it yet, these raffle tickets, I've been handing them out this morning. And then people say, oh, I'm planning to sponsor. So if you're planning to sponsor, you don't want to sell raffle tickets. Just tell me you want to sponsor. But Calabando sponsored and sold all his raffle tickets and took more this morning. So what a present. I tell you, he's going to be hard to follow.
I'm sure you won't brag.
We have 2 platinum sponsors. We have a good number of sponsors. Some people who committed to me. They haven't said how much. Said I plan to sponsor, so I'm hoping as much as they did in the past. So it's moving along. I wish the weather would be like yesterday, because that would be perfect for Derby Party. We're gonna have a good time. Satellite members are hoping to come. We're gonna talk to them about how they can come. Maybe we'll meet 20 new people and social, mingle, get to know each other again. So let me know if you're sponsoring.
Yeah, so Tom is going Monday to the Sunset Club's meeting to try and promote them working towards this as well. There's been some lag in us coordinating how our 2 clubs work together because of a strange little event occurred the last year. But we have started to work again towards getting this as 1 club, right? It's not 2 clubs, it's 1. So Lisa, Charlotte, Rob Hebner, and I all met this week, and we have a strategic plan we're working through to kind of get us to come back together more frequently. In the original implementation, we had planned meetings to do this, and then it all got thrown out the window. So don't worry, we're going to get them back in the loop, and they will be good fundraisers and good service workers, just with us all together at some point. Speaking of service, Matthew Foster, you have an announcement.
Good morning, everybody. It's nice to see everyone again. I think we're tentatively May 1st, we'll be at Victory Junction Game Camp. And I'm going to level with you. I've never done this level with y'all, but this is different. If we can somehow come up with $750 outside of the club, the room, people, any donations, we cannot put mulch down. If we can't come up with an additional $750, we're mulching. I don't know if anybody really wants to put mulch down over a 100-some acre campus, but that's what we're probably going to do. But if we can get $750, we can buy some lumber and do a deck project. So just let that marinate over the weekend when you're working in the yard. Think about it and give some money to somebody secure like Chris.
May 1st may not be the best date.
Yeah.
It's the only date if y'all want to do this project at their event.
Fundraisers, man.
Derby Day.
Well, we're not going down there May 1st. I will figure out something else. And, maybe we'll go to the fall.
How much do we need not to go May 1?
I don't listen. I don't really listen to anybody. It's not just Tom, it's Guy, night, everybody.
The fundraiser starts at 5 o'clock, so. if you
I'll
wanna
figure
go-
something out, Mo.
Yeah, we might be able to do a quick one.
All right.
It's good to hear that Matthew only ignores everybody. Next, I'm going to call on Charlotte. I don't know if you can. Charlotte, are you with us?
It's empty.
She's still on there?
I'm here. I'm not on video.
Okay.
Good morning. Had some issues with my audio and video. Sound.
Did you want to announce about you guys' away meeting?
I'm having trouble with.
Anyway, so the Sunset Club is planning in off their normal location meeting. Chip, do you know where it's going to be?
I know whose business is that, an advertising company in High Point. One of our
Joe
members.
Hilliard.
I've not seen the email yet.
So Joe Hilliard is going to host that group, and we're going to come up with some more ideas of how to invite the regular club members to join the Sunset Club members and vice versa. This is going to be an evening away from the Cafe Pasta normal meeting site. We're also working on expanding the meeting site to allow more people to come by moving. Cafe Pasta has a limit on how many people obviously can meet in that upstairs room. So we're trying to create some situations. This is one in the near future. I guess Charlotte and maybe Lisa can send out some information. I don't know all the details, but if I would like to invite all of the regular club members to maybe, if you are free that evening, join them in a bigger location so we can start to intermingle and get to know each other a little better. So that was the announcement. All right, with that, I'll have Bobby do our happy dollars.
Happy dollars. Anybody in the club have a horse?
That'd be great, Danny.
Well, we might use it. Kelly Harrell had a neat idea when Tommy and I went to Grandover. He said, if it's some good weather, we could put a horse out there and everybody gets their picture taken with it. And I thought it could evolve into a service project for Matthew to do cleanup for the horse.
Is it on May 1st?
Yes, it is. If you can find a horse, you got a project.
Awesome.
Lieutenant Dan.
Everybody probably got a note, except maybe Matthew, that we've got a day for pig stock this year. But I got some news last week that I thought was really fun. You know, we've done this for 9 years now to benefit these young ladies that got scholarships. But Patrick Eake's daughter, Sarah, who you've worked with extensively, Judge, Sarah started working as a volunteer at Pig Stock when she was 11, and by last year she was damn near master ceremony. She can run the show out there. And Sarah wrote her application for a scholarship, a leadership scholarship at state, and most of it was about her leadership in Pig Stock. And the young lady has received a wonderful scholarship at state. So some byproduct of Pig Stock was a scholarship on this end of the world.
That new investment money.
Yeah. I have a dog, I had a dog, and their and he got cancer and died because of the COVID. So I got a new dog. I want to show you his name.
You need to put that dog in a show.
This dog is a firecracker. His name is Casey. He's a Yorkshire Terrier. He just turned 3. I don't know when he'll mellow out. But he's a really cute, smart dog. And he listens and does what you tell him to do, but he's got the memory of a gnat.
More? Surely there's some more in here. Dale, you know how to tell who likes you more between your dog and your spouse? You know that story. You lock them both in the trunk of a car for an hour and open it up, and which one's happy to see you? Trade secret. No more?
Well, put me down for $1 a million.
I think that is just the next wonderful thing. I'll get you a big one.
Well, he gave me life.
Oh, okay.
That's worth it. Spread it around.
Yeah.
Socialist club.
Oh,
Easy. Well, Grandpappy, it's hard to get him to go to church. And finally, it was Easter last weekend, so we took him to the Easter vigil on Saturday night. It was wonderful. Sometimes he goes at Christmas and he went on Easter. So, the whole message was about forgiveness and resurrection, and it was awesome. And at the end of the Mass, Monsignor said, everybody, in the parish, raise your hand if you've ever forgiven somebody. Everybody raised their hand except Grandpappy. And he looked at him and singled him out and said, well, you mean at your age, you've never forgiven anybody? How is that? And Grandpappy said, I outlived all those assholes.
Thank you, Bobby. So today our speaker is going to be on Zoom. So Lisa, are you going to introduce?
Yes, I will. I think, is Gigi here? Is she on? So Andrea Huckabee is with Family Service of the Piedmont, and I believe Andrea that Gigi sits on the board, maybe. And so Gigi had recommended you all come and speak. And so we thought that it would be face-to-face, but at the time we scheduled this, we were Zooming. And so Andrea is at home this week with her children. So she's Zooming. And thank you for coming. And I'll let you share more about yourself.
Thanks, Lisa. And yes, you're correct. Can everybody hear me? Okay. Yeah, originally, Christy Schaffner was, I think, the one who did the presentation that Gigi had seen. So Christy is not available. Christy is the program manager for our Healthy Start program, and I am the division director. So we like to help each other out and tag team when we can. So a little bit about myself. I'm the Family Support Division Director at Family Service of the Piedmont, which is pretty much a division that runs community-based programs, working on primarily on prevention of child abuse. So we work with a lot of high-risk families that have risk factors for child abuse. I have my master's in social work, and I'm a licensed clinical social worker. So I do some therapy for Healthy Start as well. But I've been at Family Service since about 2003 and been in the same division since then. So, and when I say we're community-based, I mean, we go into the homes or schools, not as much these days, but we're getting back to that. But yes, we're all community-based. We're rarely in the office. So that's kind of it, me and our program or our division in a nutshell. And I think I'm gonna attempt to share my screen. I practiced already one time this morning, so we'll see what happens. And I have a PowerPoint for a Healthy Start. So I don't want to just read it to you, so y'all can have access to it if you need it later. So I might just kind of forgive me if I skip around. Let's see. Okay. The first slide is just basically kind of our agency's mission as a whole. And I don't know, for those of you who are not familiar with Family Service of the Piedmont, we are, as a result of a merger many years ago through two programs that were one located in High Point and one located in Greensboro, that merged and become Family Service of the Piedmont. And we have grown probably substantially since then. So we have four major divisions. One is Victim Services that works with advocates and victims of domestic violence and sexual assault. We have our Consumer Credit Counseling that works with financial counseling for our clients, as well as programs like First Home Buyers Club. We have a match program for people who maybe are saving for a car. We'll, match some funds for that, or maybe just need to save up for some work clothes or something to start a new job. So Consumer Credit Counseling has a lot of services that help families kind of really get the ball rolling in that avenue. The other programs we have, the other division we have is our mental health counseling. So that is one of our biggest divisions, and that is all our office-based counselors. And we also recently, just a little over a year ago, right when COVID first started, we opened our High Point Children's Center for Wellness. And so it is a whole new building, a new division of its own that focuses on children's well-being, and that would be mental, physical, and psychological health all housed in the same place. So we are very proud of that. That took many, many years to get off the ground. So, but I'm going to specifically talk about Healthy Start. So Healthy Start is one of the programs in Family Service Piedmont that's probably one of the oldest ones that we've had, and it's been around for quite some time. Like I said, Healthy Start was there long before I started at Family Service in 2003. But it is a home visiting program. It is based upon what's called a nurturing parenting curriculum, which is an evidence-based curriculum that has proven outcomes. And just our outcomes in a nutshell, we measure kind of social services or child protective services involvement with families. And out of the families that complete our program, a year later, we do a follow-up, and it's almost anywhere from 95 to 100% that those families do not have any involvement with social services once they've completed our program. So who do we serve? Basically, if someone is pregnant or has a child up to 18 months, they can get into our program. Once they are in our program, they can stay until the child is 5 years old. And they can stay in for as long as they want. It could be 6 months, it could be the full 5 years. Often we have had families that maybe have had another child, and then we move on to that new child or that new birth being the identified child. And so sometimes we do have some long-term families that stay with us. And once they are identified, and that's the only requirement. There is no, we don't check financials, nothing. That is the only requirement for them to be in our program, is that you have a child within the age range. So once they're in, there's also no cost to our families. We are grant funded, various grants, United Way funded. That seems to constantly change from year to year, but there is no cost to our clients. Once the clients are referred to us in a various ways. Sometimes it's just word of mouth. It's not uncommon that, we've seen one family and they refer us to their cousin or their neighbor. And so when I say we're a community-based program, we are very immersed in the community, and we work with several neighborhoods and communities that probably aren't as trusting to professionals coming into them. And so over time and over years, we have had to establish that, and that's not the easiest thing to do. I can tell you, when I first started Family Service, I was doing in-home family preservation, family counseling, and it took me probably 2 years to be welcome in some of the communities, just because they've had bad experience or for whatever reason, the trust was not there. And so this program has really established a trusting history and background in our community. And so we do get a lot of referrals that are word of mouth. Other than that, we'll get several, maybe from the health department or from the hospital, the new birthing center, sometimes schools, it just depends. We also get in-house referrals, but basically, there is no lack of referrals. Most of the time we have a hard time keeping up, and we maintain a waiting list of probably anywhere from 15 to 30 families at any given time. And I'll say that during COVID, the referrals didn't slow down at all. So there's no lack for work for us there, for sure. Okay, so once the referral is made, Christy Schaffner, as I said, who was supposed to do this, was probably the better person to speak. I'm just filling in for her, but she is phenomenal. She is the caseworker, and the program manager. She's been a Healthy Start for many, many years, but the referrals come to her, and then she assigns it to a caseworker. And we have caseworkers that are assigned to Greensboro and High Point, and some that overlap both. And then we also have caseworkers that speak in different languages. So we do have 2 Spanish-speaking caseworkers, and then we have a caseworker that speaks 5 different languages, and she's really our caseworker that is immersed in our immigrant community and works primarily with refugees and various different languages in that community. So if we do get someone that speaks a language that we cannot service in-house, then we will use language resources. But once the caseworker is assigned, they'll, make contact with the family, go out, kind of do a very casual meet and greet, and do various forms of assessments. That could take first 2 to 3 visits to get that done, depending how open and responsive the family is to us being there. So once that is done and they get started, then the caseworker will work on the nurturing parenting curriculum. And that curriculum is basically split up into chapters. You do not have to go in any specific order. The chapters are not, sequential to each other where they build on each other. They're very separate chapters. So depending on what's going on in the family, they may start with child development, or they may go to substance abuse in the family, or they may go to child brain development. And lots of times those chapters will get all mixed around, and sometimes we'll go back and review some of them. So it's not like it has a specific order they have to go in. It's based upon where the family's at and kind of the process of how their family is functioning at that time. The caseworkers will also do what's called a parenting inventory, which on this slide would be called our adult adolescent parenting inventory, also known as the AAPI. And I don't know about y'all, but in my world, it is full of acronyms and it's hard to keep up. But this basically gives the caseworker the style of parenting that the family is using right now, and goes from there, and then makes suggestions. We like to build off of what's already there, because it's a lot easier to build off of somebody's strengths and go from there than it is to introduce something new. And we also don't want to come in, I mean, I don't know about y'all, I have kids, I have 5 children, and it's hard to, nobody wants to tell you what you're doing as a parent, because it's one of the most sacred jobs you have, and one you're probably the most proud of. And so we have to be very careful how we approach people to suggest alternate ways to parent, or things that maybe they could just try. And I would say a lot of our population has some kind of trauma in their background, and most likely had some kind of childhood abuse. And so their view and images of parenting is only what they've only known. So sometimes they just have not been exposed to any other parenting styles and just don't know. I mean, it's not that they aren't willing, it's just you don't know what you don't know sometimes. And so there is a lot of education, and our caseworkers are very hands-on. So each chapter comes with activities, and they are very hands-on. So if it is something that's talking about child development, that's maybe they will come out with activities. So it's games, and they'll sit on the floor, they'll get with the parents, they'll have them to try it too. The parents will have some kind of homework that they will complete before the next one. It could be, in the land of COVID too, everything's gotten very creative. So it could be going out for a walk in the park. I think one of the best examples we have right now is we have a mom who has, I think it's 4 children, 2 of which are autistic. And so it's very hard for her to even leave the house with all that she has on her plate. And so the caseworker, they will walk to a local park that has a tennis court, and they go early in the morning or whenever it's not occupied, and pretty much lock everybody in the tennis court, and they do their activities in there, and the kids can run around, and mom gets a little break and gets out of the house. And so as creative as we can be, sometimes that is going in and teaching things while you're doing day-to-day activities. Single mom of 4 kids is overwhelmed, can't even get the laundry done. So sometimes it's helping with those basic needs while you turn it into an educational experience. And I think that's why being in the home, you can get a very good overview and very good insight into what families are really living and dealing with on a day-to-day basis. So caseworkers, sorry, just a second, there we go. So once the caseworkers get in the home, they're basically doing the parent education and case management. We will provide diapers and formula and things like that if there are a need. And we have a lot of donations and resources to help out. Maybe they just don't have enough clothes or toys or just need a little bit of assistance. And of course, since COVID, that has increased dramatically. We're finding more and more families that just have huge food insecurities. And so we're trying to link them with as many food resources as we can. A lot of the kids have been home and not in virtual school. And so yes, free lunch and meals have been provided by the schools, but not all the families can get to them or get to the school to pick them up. So there's been, I think that's been one of the biggest problems since COVID has been the food insecurities. Once the therapist does get into the home, once the caseworker does get in the home, they do kind of do a general overview, but they give families what's called an ACEs. It's called the Adverse Childhood Experiences Survey. For those of you who have heard of it or maybe not, it's basically 10 questions that talks about your childhood experiences, and they're all basically traumatic experiences. Have, a family member been abused, one, family member been in prison, but basically out of those 10, if a client scores 4 or more, they're automatically referred for therapy. This doesn't mean that if they don't score 4 or more, they can't get it, but that's an automatic that is referred for therapy. So once they're referred for therapy, then, which is usually, I used to be the full-time therapist for Healthy Start. So that used to be a full-time job. Now I do it part-time with the division director, but we also have another full-time therapist, and we will go out and work on a variety of things. And I will say that most of our work is trauma-based. There's a lot of trauma in our parents' backgrounds. So working to sort through that and understand how that trauma affects their parenting and their day-to-day functioning. So and therapy is also in the home and community-based as well. And the therapy is free. There is no cost for that as well. And as long as they keep their case manager and are keeping up with their sessions with them, then they can keep the therapist. Now, they do not have to have the therapist, and they can keep the case manager, but they cannot do the reverse. They cannot have the therapy without the case management. Let's see. Where are we at? And if anybody has any questions, please feel free to just interrupt me. Okay. So we do follow the nurturing parenting curriculum, and every family has their own individual goals, but we also do track the parenting inventory, as I spoke of earlier. We'll do that initially, then 6 months, and then annually to see how their parenting style has changed or improved. And then we also do what's called ages and stages. And so that is basically to see where parents are on their knowledge of their child's development. I think lots of times they just because of their background, they have an inappropriate expectation of, we have a 2-year-old that the parent thinks should be able to sit through an hour at the table, and we just know that that's not feasible for a 2-year-old, and kind of just giving them real expectations and then how they're going to meet those expectations and what to expect that's child developmentally appropriate, because they just didn't have a background of that. And so basically just showing them what is appropriate and giving them the insight onto how to develop their child's resiliency factors, which goes back to the ACEs as well. We do report a child abuse and neglect if needed, but that is also one of our measures that I said before, that we will follow up with Child Protective Services once families are closed to see if there's been any new reports or any open cases. So that is one of the goals that we follow up on. And then we do offer 2 to 4 educational workshops a year. And those workshops could be anything. It's pretty wide open. I think the one I enjoyed the most we had a while back was kind of healthy eating. And so we talked about how to take a budget. And if you have $25 to go to the grocery store, how can you buy hamburger meat, pasta, and sauce? And how can you stretch your meals? And how can you make them as healthy as possible? So we had some nutritionists, and we have some volunteers that come in and do our workshops. And then we'll have a themed gift or a raffle that goes with that. So for that particular workshop, everybody got crock pots. So we have wonderful donors and people that will provide things for us that we can give to families that go along with these workshops. I think during COVID, we did go to virtual. And we had some workshops around stress and isolation, trying to be as current with what's going on in the world as possible. And then in the summer, we might do like some pool or water safety. So it's really all over the spectrum as far as what we could provide for those educational workshops. But we do those 2 to 4 times a year, and we try to change locations. If we're not doing virtual, we'll try to kind of be all over the county. And we do provide, if it is in person, we will provide transportation, we'll provide a meal and childcare. So doing this virtually has been a little different, but we're hoping to slowly get back to the in-person, because we find virtual has been successful, but I will say that the in-person is still much more effective, I believe. So at the end, we also do surveys from the clients and participants throughout. Like I said, we may have some that stick around for 6 months or a year or 2 years. So we do satisfaction surveys throughout, and they'll review all of the caseworker survey, the caseworkers, their experience with them, as well as the therapy, as well as the workshops. I will say the workshops are also offered to closed clients. It is not just for the open. So that is something that will keep them connected even after they've closed, so they can come back and join some of these workshops. And we also do have a private Facebook page for all our open and previous clients that can access, where we post resources. Sometimes they're educational videos, little clips of how to do various things. Sometimes there's a few videos where it just shows kind of interactive play, just giving families examples of and resources for pretty much day-to-day living, and then more resources for food and case management type needs. So anything we find, we put up there, and we have found that since COVID to be extremely, extremely beneficial to most of our clients. All right, we're getting there. Okay, so I think I've kind of already gone over this a little bit, but basically this is a resource for families to improve their parenting skills. It is free, there's no cost. They're provided with some case management. They get some things like diapers or co-sleepers, pack and plays, different kinds of things that they may need in the home. They'll increase their parental knowledge. If there is more than one parent in the home, then we will work on some co-parenting or couples or relationship skills as needed. We also promote literacy. That is one we are very, very strong on. And that's basically literacy and is in every part of the curriculum. We provide books to the families. We enroll everybody. For those of you, Dolly Parton has a program. So we enroll all of our families into the Dolly Parton program, where they will get books sent to them. I think it's on a monthly basis, but it's a wonderful program. And so we try to incorporate literacy and getting kids as ready for school and kindergarten as we can. So we do have a lot of collaborative partners. We would work closely with, of course, the Partnership for Children. We also work very closely with Get Ready Guilford. UNCG has a Healthy Relationships Initiative. We're all trying to work together to get our kids off to the best start. So when they start kindergarten, they're ready to go and not behind, and in all ways, not just literacy wise, but emotionally and mentally and relationship wise within their family, and have the resiliency and coping skills that they need to move further to be independent. And we also refer within our own agency as needed. So that's another option. We are constantly trying to refer to each other within house and keep families from having to kind of run here and run there and go to this referral, it's over here, then go, because that can get very intimidating for families to run all over the place, and they already feel like they're kind of a little needy or not as confident. And so we try to keep people in-house if we can, and make it easier, more streamlined for them to not have to see a bunch of different people and kind of go over their story over and over again. So I've hit on this a little bit as far as the COVID impact. So we have limited our in-home visits, but that is, I think weather definitely helps that, as where all our caseworkers have a folding sports chair or a lawn chair in their trunk, which they take out. And so they have been doing more face-to-face when the weather's provided. They're just not necessarily going into the home to do it. They may be out in the yard or on the porch or you know, like I said, the tennis court or some park where they can still have some interaction and still have privacy and confidentiality as well. I think that going virtual has been a challenge for several of our families because they either don't have the technology or the knowledge of how to use the technology, or they don't have Wi-Fi or internet access. So we were very fortunate to get a grant that funded us with updated smartphones for our caseworkers. Yay, because they were still on like some little Blackberries that were impossible to use. But so they have smartphones, and we were able to get tablets and hotspots, not a whole lot, but about 15 to 20 of them that we are now able to lend out to families. And so they can access all the internet options that they have with us, as well as resources like maybe it's ABC Mouse, we can give them membership, or Sesame Street, or something that they can interact and do with their children. So I think the challenges has come for all of us who aren't as tech savvy, and I don't know about other fields, but I know in my field, in the world of therapy, math is not a thing. We don't do math well, and we don't do technology well. And I'm used to being in the home and hands-on. So it's been a real learning curve for all of us to learn the technology and then to turn around and try to teach the families that we work with. So we're very fortunate that we got that grant, and very happy that we can offer that to our families as well. This is our crew. I will say it's slightly changed. We had a couple leave and a couple new faces, but this is us in a nutshell. And I am going to quit sharing my screen and then open it up for any questions if need be. I don't know how we are on time. I haven't even looked. So you guys just let me know.
Time for a question if anybody has.
She may, Andrew, you may have said it at the beginning, but did you say how many families in the Piedmont are impacted by your services?
I don't have those specific statistics in front of me. I can't speak this morning either. But I will say that our outcomes of the families that we serve, that the outcomes for them are almost in the 90 to 95% range, that we exceed all of our outcomes, which would be improved parenting styles, no child abuse risk factors that would warrant CPS or DSS involvement, improved parenting, and overall improved confidence in parenting. And of course, I can get you those numbers if you like, and I can email them out if that's helpful.
Andrea.
Yes.
Is most of your funding through the United Way?
A good chunk of it is, very much so.
Has that been cut recently in the most recent years?
Yes, yes. We've been trying to diversify as much as we can. And we do have a grant for Healthy Start, but it does not cover the whole program. And United Way has been a big supporter of our program, and it does fund a lot of it. And so we all know that with COVID that the fundraising has gone down, and that's, nobody's fault, but it is what it is. And so we're looking at right now kind of anticipating possibly having to cut a caseworker position just because we don't anticipate having funds, but we're not done looking. Our grants and contracts department is probably working double and triple overtime. And I spend a lot of my time searching for grants as well, because, fundraising just isn't the same. And we're having to change our styles, and everybody's crunched too. So it's difficult. So we're going to have to figure some things out, but in the nonprofit world, that's kind of the way of life. So, but it is a bit heartbreaking when we know we have 30 to 40 families on the waiting list, and then we're going to lose a caseworker most likely, and then those families. And there is a critical time period when somebody, whether it's our program or another, but there is a critical time period. And for those of you who had any experiences that can relate, I need some help right now, and I'm willing to get the help right now. And then if you go on a waiting list and you have to wait 2 or 3 months, it's either the time has passed, the window is closed, or, they've moved on, or they're not ready, or whatever's changed. So it's really difficult when we put families on a waiting list.
Andrea, thank you for speaking with us. I know it was a last minute change. We appreciate your time.
No problem.
I know my business contributes, and I'm sure there are others here. So you do a great service to our community, and we appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So we don't have a speaker to draw. I know Judge Hassel hasn't bought a ticket ever, so I'm just read the last three numbers.
The last three numbers are 877.
Gotta sing it.
Yeah, I've got information on the meetings Monday night. Let me see. Give me 2 seconds.
Sure.
The body draws card.
So the pot is for the winner is over $350 now. So got to turn it the other way. It'd be a little too easy. So
Take that one right there.
Rick. So it's still growing. We started over with a new deck, so hopefully it gets big.
So Charlotte got the information from Monday night's meetings. THS Creative. She said it was THC Creative. If you Google that, it's about pot and how it can make your creative energy. Google THC Creative at High Point. It tells you how to have pot delivered at High Point University. I've not read it all yet, but it seems pretty interesting. THS Creative, Joe Hilliard runs a female-owned business and got over 100,000 square feet out there on Piedmont Parkway, 4200 Piedmont Parkway. She's providing wine, beer, and light hors d'oeuvres for those that attend, but she does need to know a number. It's 4200 Piedmont Parkway, 5:30 Monday night. We'll get an email out through Peter and Steve.
Okay, thank you, Chip.
THS Creative.
THS.
Not C.
THS. Everybody have a great week. See you next week. And please remember to bring food.